She hid her condition for 5 years until an inspiring young doctor revealed an incredible solution. Emma poured another cup of coffee, the warm aroma swirling around her like a comforting hug. Her hands trembled just slightly as she filled the mug, the familiar ache rippled through her body, but she masked it beneath a bright smile. For 5 years, she perfected the art of hiding, of tucking her pain beneath layers of determination and resilience, creating a front that felt more like a shield than a facade. In her small Midwestern town, vulnerability was seen as weakness, and Emma was far too proud to allow anyone to see her struggle. She focused on serving up comfort at the diner, her laugh ringing out louder than the clattering dishes, weaponizing her heart against the sting of loneliness. Her mother, a fiercely determined veteran, had sacrificed so much for Emma and her younger brother. Emma couldn't bear the thought of adding to her mother's burdens. So, day after day, despite the fatigue draining her spirit, she swirled between tables like a whirlwind, refusing to let her condition define her. But that invisible weight bore down heavier with each passing day, an anchor that threatened to pull her under. When Dr. Alex opened his small clinic just down the road, everything changed. He was young, idealistic, with a patient smile that made him instantly approachable. Emma first met him after hours, in her diner's quiet booth, where their conversation fluttered like a more hopeful banter than the usual town gossip. Over steaming cups of coffee, they bonded over shared stories of struggles and dreams, discussions about the unspoken health issues lurking in the shadows of their community. Emma admired his drive, that unyielding passion blazing within him to initiate change, while also wrestling with her instincts to keep her own life buried under secrecy. As meetings at the town hall became increasingly focused on health, Emma found herself teetering on the edge of fear and hope. She listened as Alex passionately pushed for inclusive health screening. The weight of her hidden truth pressed heavier in her chest with every word. The notion of standing in the spotlight, speaking her truth, was it brave, or was it madness? Then came the night of the pivotal meeting. The room buzzed with energy, people huddled together, faces lit with interest. Emma's heart raced as she huddled in the back, shadows thick around her like an old friend. Suddenly, Dr. Alex's fervent plea for mental and physical health caught her, reverberating deep within her soul. It ignited the courage she thought long extinguished. Before she could think, her legs propelled her forward, a trembling resolve guiding her. I have an autoimmune condition," she stammered, her heart pounding in her ears. The room fell silent, breaths hitching at her revelation. To her astonishment, she wasn't met with judgment, but with compassion. Faces shifted from surprise to empathy, people leaned forward, ready to listen, to understand. As warmth flooded her, Emma realized she was no longer alone. A tide of support surged within the room, her neighbors rallying as if she had just called them to arms. The silence transformed into murmurs of encouragement, their admiration palpable. In her heart, a spark ignited. This was no longer just about her. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Emma gazed around at the faces imbued with hope and understanding, a warmth spreading through her spirit. The journey wouldn't be easy, but as she stood there, head held high amidst a newfound collective resolve, the question loomed: would she embrace the support of this community, or retreat back into the confines of her silence? The air in the room thickened with unspoken words as Emma took in the sea of unfamiliar yet welcoming faces. Each expression reflected a mixture of admiration and solidarity, pulling her out of her solitude and anchoring her in a vibrant reality. The urge to shrink back faded, replaced by a flicker of defiance against the years of silence. Her heart raced, doubts crept in. What if they didn't really understand? What if, after all these years of hiding, she was only much too eager to reveal a truth that could push them away. But the supportive murmurs wrapped around her like a blanket, urging her to stay. "Thank you for being so brave, Emma," she heard a voice say, a woman from the local church, someone she had served countless cups of coffee to, someone whose unwavering belief in community she had always respected. "Yeah. I can't imagine how hard that was," another chimed in, and Emma felt the power of their words weave through the room. She felt tears pricking at her eyes, but she blinked them away. In that moment, she realized she wasn't just acknowledging her own pain, she was carving a path for others to share theirs. There was a flicker of movement from the corner of her eye. Dr. Alex stood by the podium, his expression filled with pride, a smile that lit up the shadows. He took a step forward, his presence grounding and comforting. "You're doing amazing, Emma. Sharing your story takes incredible strength." Every word felt like a warm hand on her back, pushing her further into the light. She continued, her voice gaining strength, infused with the weight of authenticity. "I have faced days when getting out of bed felt impossible. Days when pretending to be okay was the most exhausting battle of them all. But I'm here because I want to break this cycle. I want us to talk about what we face, together." The room erupted with applause, a wave of sound and energy that made Emma's heart swell. It was a reminder that vulnerability could lead to triumph. She locked eyes with Dr. Alex, a silent conversation passing between them. There was a mix of gratitude and determination in his gaze, a realization that they were in this together. "Let us keep this momentum going," he called out to the crowd, eyes brightened. "We can set up support groups, health fairs, screenings. We can educate ourselves and each other. Let us break down the barriers. Who's with us?" The entire room erupted into cheers. Emma could feel the electricity in the air, a promise of change sparking like fireworks, fiery and uncontrollable. As the meeting wrapped up, Emma stepped down from her place at the front, her heart still racing but with a newfound sense of purpose. She had opened a door not just for herself, but for others who might have been feeling alone in their struggles. In the days that followed, she found her world shifting slightly. Conversations at the diner transformed, patrons lingered longer, sharing stories, laughter, and tears. Every connection was a thread in the fabric they were weaving together. But deep down, the question gnawed at her: what if she couldn't keep this up? What if the weight of it all became too heavy again? As she locked up the diner one night, emotions clashed within her. Hope fought against fear, excitement mixed with doubt. She looked out at the stars, those pinpricks of light in the vast sky, and took a shaky breath. What came next? Would she rise to the challenge or let the insecurities drag her under? As she stepped inside her home, she could still hear their cheers echoing in her mind. The journey had only just begun, and she wondered, what would she uncover about herself in the days to come? The days turned into weeks, and with each sunrise, Emma felt the weight of her new role settle onto her shoulders. It was exhilarating, terrifying, and deeply fulfilling all at once. The diner bustled with more activity than ever, a living testament to the threads of community weaving tightly together. Yet, amid the laughter and shared stories, doubt flickered like a candle in a draught. One afternoon, as she flipped pancakes in the diner's kitchen, the familiar sound of the bell above the door chimed, announcing a new guest. Emma turned to see a young girl, maybe 12 years old, with big brown eyes that shone with a mix of fear and curiosity. Realizing she had nowhere else to sit, the girl approached the counter. "Hi," Emma said, wiping her hands on her apron, ready to offer warmth. "What brings you in today?" The girl hesitated, glancing around as if the walls were closing in. "I saw the flyers for the support group," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. I think I want to come." Emma's heart skipped. This was what they had hoped for, this was change. That's wonderful. You're not alone. We're all here to help each other. The girl bit her lip and fidgeted with her hands, the shadow of uncertainty darkening her eyes. But what if it's not safe? What if no one gets me? The question hung heavy in the air, resonating with Emma's own fears. It reminded her of the countless nights she had felt isolated, burdened by the secrets she kept hidden. I understand, Emma replied softly, leaning closer. It's scary to open up, but trust me, it can be worth it. We're all going to listen and support one another. You might even make friends who understand just what you're going through. A flicker of hope sparked in the girl's eyes, but Emma saw the doubt nestling in the corners. What if they laugh at me? The girl asked, her voice trembling like the last note of a song. No one will laugh. We're just people trying to share our journeys, and that takes bravery. Emma's voice was steady, as if buoyed by her own revelation. You don't have to carry it alone anymore. We can share the weight together. Emma realized she was speaking not just to the girl but to herself. This young girl could be a reflection of her past, the terrified girl who felt trapped in silence. As she prepared a plate of pancakes, she felt a rush of warmth fill the space between them, a connection forming that felt as real as the food she served. Can I call you Lucy? She asked, smiling. Lucy nodded, a hint of a smile breaking through. Okay. Great. I'll save you a seat at our next group meeting. You'll find it's a safe place, I promise. That evening, Emma found herself lying in bed, the day's events swirling in her thoughts. Each interaction had its own lessons, building on the foundation she laid from her vulnerability. But with Lucy's question still fresh in her mind, the relentless doubt crept in. This girl needed Emma to be strong, and what if she faltered? The thought clung to her, sending her thoughts racing as frustration brewed. She had worked so hard to carve this path, yet beneath it all, she felt the churning just beneath the surface, a reminder that healing was not linear, but a twisty, unpredictable road. As Emma's eyes fluttered shut, she knew she couldn't let fear cloud her journey. The fight against her own insecurities would need to be met with the same courage she hoped to inspire in others. What would happen when she faced her deepest fears? She exhaled softly into the darkness, whispering to herself, I want to turn back now, but she couldn't shake the feeling that a storm was brewing. Would those past shadows take a new form, challenging her once again? Emma woke the next morning with the weight of the world on her chest. The sun peeked through her window, warming her face, but she felt cold inside. Lucy's face lingered in her mind, her uncertain expression visible with every flicker of her thoughts. Emma knew deep down that she had to show up for the girl. Not just for Lucy, but for herself too. Once at the diner, the air buzzed with energy, the sound of laughter and clinking dishes filling the space. But beneath that lively chatter, Emma felt a tightness in her gut. How could she lead a support group? Who would want to listen to her when she still battled her own doubts? As she flipped pancakes and prepared coffee, her hands moved like they had a mind of their own, but her thoughts were far away. The regulars noticed her distraction. Joe, an older gentleman with a straw hat, leaned over the counter. Emma, you all right? You look like a ghost. I'm fine. Just thinking. She forced a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Thinking too much can get a fella in trouble, he chuckled lightly, then added, remember, you're not alone in this. You're doing something real here. Don't doubt yourself. His words hung in the air, a gentle reminder that the community wasn't just about laughter. They held each other up in moments of uncertainty too. Encouraged, Emma straightened and focused on her work, but the anxiety tethered to her was still there, waiting. By early afternoon, the diner was unusually quiet. The midweek lull set in, and all Emma could think about was the upcoming support group meeting. She felt intertwined with Lucy's own journey, and the notion of letting the girl down felt too heavy to bear. Suddenly, the bell chimed, pulling her from her murky thoughts. A group of familiar faces filled the doorway, friends who had shown up for their usual coffee. Hey, Emma! Sarah called out, her curly hair bouncing. We heard about the support group and wanted to see if we could help in any way. Emma blinked, surprised. Really? You guys would want to help? Of course. We all have our own battles. Who better to support each other? Sarah smiled, and Emma felt a rush of warmth fill her heart. Maybe she wasn't alone in this after all. A flurry of ideas erupted among them. They began planning activities, discussing snacks, and mapping out topics to address. Emma found herself caught up in their enthusiasm, laughter bubbling over every new suggestion. As the day went on, a plan began to take shape, and Emma felt a flicker of hope rekindle. The support group wasn't just about her anymore, it was about all of them. They were a tapestry woven together by shared experiences. Later that evening, Emma stared at her reflection in the mirror, the dim light catching her eyes. She could see the flicker of determination breaking through the doubt. It was time to embrace her vulnerability not just as a leader but as a fellow traveler on this unpredictable road. But just then, her phone buzzed, pulling her from her thoughts. It was a message from Lucy. Are you sure I can really come? What if I mess everything up? Emma's heart sank. This was the very fear she had wrestled with herself. In that moment, she knew that she had to respond not only to comfort Lucy but to face that uncertainty head-on. Lucy, it's okay to be scared. We're all afraid sometimes. Just come. We'll figure it out together. You're stronger than you think. As she hit send, an unexpected wave of calm washed over her. She was learning just as much as she was teaching. In leaning on each other, they could both find strength. Yet, even as she felt a surge of courage, the nagging uncertainty lingered at the edges of her mind. What if the group fell apart? What if she couldn't provide the support everyone needed? Tomorrow would bring the first meeting. Would it be a triumph or a disaster? Emma took a deep breath, knowing there was only one way to find out. The morning of the support group meeting dawned, thick with anticipation. Emma woke early, the sun casting golden rays that danced across her bedroom walls. She lay still, memories of the previous day swirling in her mind. Lucy's message loomed large, a constant reminder that vulnerability was the pathway to connection. Would Lucy show? Would anyone? After a quick shower and a cup of coffee that barely registered as fuel, Emma dressed in her favorite blouse. It wrapped around her like a hug, whispering words of encouragement. She couldn't let fear dictate this day. As she reached the diner, her heart thudded wildly. The place felt different, buzzing with a quieter kind of energy. Familiar faces occupied tables, sipping coffee with anxious glances toward the clock. Emma. Sarah called out, her enthusiasm infectious. Are you ready for this? Emma forced a smile. Ready as I'll ever be. But inside, she felt like a ship set to sail into uncertain waters. With each pancake flipped and cup poured, Emma stole glances at the door. The minutes crawled by, a cruel test of her nerves. Then, the bell jingled, pulling her attention like a moth to a flame. Lucy stood there, hesitating in the doorway, her wide eyes scanning the room. Time seemed to freeze. Every moment counted, and every heartbeat echoed in Emma's chest. Hey! Over here! Emma waved, her voice brightening. She noticed Lucy's shoulders relax a fraction. As Lucy made her way over, Emma caught sight of her friends Sarah, Joe, and a few others trickling in behind her, forming a reassuring wall of support. It felt like stepping out of a shadow and into the sunshine. Hi, Lucy, Sarah greeted warmly as they settled into a booth together. We're glad you made it. Thanks for letting me come, Lucy murmured, her gaze flickering between them. I really didn't know if I could. You can. Emma encouraged, her voice steady. This is about all of us sharing and learning from each other. They started with small talk, easing into the atmosphere. Laughter bubbled up as they made light of their own quirks and stories. Emma's anxiety simmered down until it was almost just a hum. But then Lucy spoke up, her voice barely above a whisper. What if my problems are too much? What if I ruin this for everyone? The room quieted, a collective intake of breath, as all the unspoken fears flickered in the air around them. Emma felt a pang in her heart. This wasn't just Lucy's fear. It was her own too. Listen, we're not here to judge, Emma said, her eyes locked onto Lucy's. We all have burdens we carry. Sharing them could be what we need to lift some weight off our shoulders. And nobody has to carry them alone. Slowly, others began to share. Each story resonated, building an invisible bond. Emma felt her heart swell with every word spoken. Every vulnerability aired sparked a sense of hope, resilience flickering like fireflies in the dark. As the meeting began to take shape, Emma realized this wasn't just about leading but about learning from each other. By the time they reached the end, she felt an overwhelming sense of relief and connection. I think we should do this every week, Lucy suggested, her voice growing stronger with each word. I need this more than I thought. There were murmurs of agreement, and Emma couldn't help but smile. For the first time, uncertainty unraveled into possibility. But just as she began to bask in the warmth of budding friendship, her phone buzzed again, this time with a notification that made her stomach drop. It was a message from her estranged brother. Can we talk? I need you. Emma's heart raced. This was the moment she had dreaded and longed for all in one. Could she balance both her past and this newfound optimism? Her hands trembled as she looked up at the group around her, a tapestry of hope and healing. A decision loomed. Embracing her past could be the key to shaping their future. But was she ready for that? Tomorrow would bring not just the weight of her brother's request but another opportunity for growth. Would she risk opening old wounds for the chance at new beginnings? Emma felt the buzz from her phone pulse through her fingertips like a live wire. The words on the screen were short but heavy, bearing the weight of years she thought she had left behind. Can we talk? I need you. It was from Jake, her brother, whose absence in her life had been both a blessing and a pain. Hey, you okay? Sarah's voice broke through Emma's thoughts, concern etched on her face. Yeah, just something came up. Emma forced a smile, but her mind swirled with uncertainty. There was a split in her own heart, one side filled with the warmth of connection forged with Lucy and her friends, while the other felt the cold grasp of the past reaching out for her. Do you need a minute? Sarah pressed, her hand resting comfortingly on Emma's arm. Emma took a breath. No, I'm good. It's just my brother wants to talk. It throws me off a bit. She let the truth spill out before she could hesitate. The booth around her shifted, conversations falling silent as everyone turned their attention to her. The weight of vulnerability hung in the air, and she could feel eyes searching hers for understanding. Is it about the family stuff? Joe asked quietly. It's okay if you don't want to share. Emma hesitated. For years, she had kept her relationship with Jake behind closed doors, piecing together her life without him like a jigsaw puzzle missing a core piece. Yeah. We haven't talked in a while. It's complicated. That sounds tough. Lucy's voice cut through, raw and real. But you're not alone here. You've got us. Whatever you need. The sincerity in Lucy's gaze cracked a bit of the armor Emma had built around her heart. This was a new reality filled with warmth and connection. But could she allow herself to fully experience it while still tangled in her family's past? I appreciate that, really. Emma nodded, though her chest felt tight. But I'm just scared. What if things don't go well? What if he can't change? Conversations resumed softly in the background, but the energy in the corner booth felt electric, anchored by Emma's mixed emotions. It was a reminder that healing sometimes meant facing the parts of oneself you'd rather leave untouched. Sometimes, you have to take a leap, right? Sarah leaned closer, her eyes shining with encouragement. It might hurt, but what if it leads to something good? Emma swallowed hard, the weight of uncertainty battling against the flickering hope growing in her heart. She looked around at her newfound friends, the laughter and love they had shared earlier drawing her in like a lifeline. "Okay," she breathed, a tentative smile on her face. "I'll talk to him. I need to see where we stand, at least." The group's murmurs of support buoyed her spirits. They would be with her, even when the past loomed large. As the meeting wrapped up, Emma felt the warmth of their words wrap around her like a familiar blanket. The chatter faded, replaced by her thoughts. She clutched her phone tightly, as if doing so could harness the courage swirling within her. That evening, as she prepared to call Jake, she couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was pivotal. It was a blend of fear and excitement. But then, just as she hit dial, a sudden thought struck her, a haunting realization. What if this conversation opened up not just old wounds, but fresh ones? With her heart pounding, Emma braced herself. Change was coming, and she could feel it in her bones. The question remained, would she emerge stronger, or would she unravel? The call connected, and as Jake's voice came through the line, she realized she was standing on the precipice of her past. Would she be ready to dive in? "Emma?" Jake's voice pierced through the static on the other end, familiar yet foreign, like a ghost that lingered long after the light had gone out. "Hey," she managed, her voice barely rising above a whisper. Silence stretched as palpable as the distance between them. She could hear him breathing, the space laden with so much unsaid. A rush of memories flooded her mind, moments of laughter interspersed with the darker shadows of their shared past. I've been thinking about you," he finally said, and Emma's heart leaped at the bare honesty she could sense in his words. "About everything." "Yeah, me too." The quiet tremor in her own voice surprised her. Jake sighed, a deep, heavy sound that carried all the weight of years apart. "I know I messed up. I left things broken. I'm trying to fix that. Can we meet?" A knot tightened in her stomach. Meeting would mean facing everything, the anger, the hurt, and the parts of her that had long since learned to function in his absence. "Where?" she asked, caught between a desire for closure and a natural inclination to retreat. "How about the old diner? You remember it? The one we used to go to off Maple?" Memories of milkshakes and sharing secrets flared, illuminating the darkness between them. "Yeah, I remember," she replied slowly. "But, it's been a while. Things have changed." "I know," he said, his voice steady. "But I want to try. I want to make this right. I'm actually in town for a few days and I need to see you." Emma closed her eyes, debating. The diner was a sacred space, a place where childhood laughter echoed and dreams felt reachable. But what if those echoes were merely a reminder of what had been lost? Her newfound connections with Lucy and Sarah surged to the forefront of her mind, reminders that maybe she wasn't as alone as she once thought. "I can't promise it'll be easy," she finally said, her voice firmer now. "But I'll think about it." "Okay," Jake said softly. "Just let me know. I really miss you, Em." A part of her itched with discomfort at his honesty, the sudden vulnerability almost overwhelming. "I'll call you back," she said, and with that, she hung up, her heart still thrumming with unresolved questions. Moments later, the room around her faded into the background as she settled into her thoughts. "Emma. Are you there?" Lucy's voice interrupted her, eyes wide with concern as she stood in the doorway. "What is going on? You look pale." "He wants to meet," Emma murmured, her pulse racing. Lucy stepped closer, her expression shifting from concern to determination. "And? What do you think?" Emma took a lengthening breath, allowing the rush of fear and excitement to swirl around her. "I'm scared it will lead to nowhere, but I need answers. I need to know if there's a chance. If we can heal." "Then you have to meet him," Lucy encouraged, her voice firm but gentle. "You can't let fear control your life. If he is willing to change, then maybe it's worth exploring. In a way, you're right. But what if I get hurt again? The thought squeezed Emma's heart, a familiar ache she had learned to live with. Then you'll have your family to support you, Lucy reminded her, gripping Emma's shoulders. Remember, you're not going through this alone anymore. Emma nodded slowly, feeling the warmth of friendship pulsing through her veins. It was invigorating. It was terrifying. I'll go, she whispered, her resolve solidifying under the weight of her decision. I'll meet him. As she prepared to call Jake back, a flicker of hope ignited within her. She had taken the first step of many. But as she dialed, another wave of uncertainty crested. What if this journey led her into deeper turmoil, not just with Jake, but within herself? Just as the call connected, Emma felt the ground shift beneath her, a trembling question echoing in her heart. Would this reunion be a salvation or a reckoning? Emma paced the small living room, her phone pressed to her ear, the ringing feeling like the heartbeat of her nerves. Jake's voice came through, steady yet unsure. Hey, it's me. Hi Jake, she said, repressing the tremor that ran through her. Did you think about it? He asked, his words laced with the kind of hope that made her heart ache. I did. I'll meet you tomorrow at the diner, she said, trying to sound more certain than she felt. Really? That's great. What time? Say 7? Perfect. I can't wait to see you. As the call ended, a wave of relief washed over her, closely followed by the unmistakable rush of panic. She had agreed to step back into a world that had broken her once, and though she felt strong now, would it really hold up under the weight of the past? Wow, that was quick. Lucy said, popping her head back in, an infectious smile lighting her face. Yeah, I'm going to see him, Emma replied, the weight of her words settling heavily around her. What? That's amazing. How do you feel? Emma took a moment to consider it. Excitement mixed with trepidation made for a confusing cocktail of emotions. Hopeful, I guess. But scared too. What if it all goes wrong again? Lucy nodded, her expression serious. You've got to focus on the positives. This could be a chance for healing. Or a chance for more heartbreak, Emma countered, her voice flat. Listen, Lucy said, stepping closer. You've come so far, Em. It's time for you to take what's yours. If this is a step toward closure or rekindling something good, then fight for it. But if it goes south, remember you have me and the others to fall back on. Emma swallowed hard, the fear still gnawing at her gut. You're right. I just wish I knew if this would be worth it. Tomorrow you'll find out. Just keep an open heart. Later that night, as darkness enveloped her small town, Emma sat at her kitchen table, thoughts racing. Should she bring anything? Would he show up? Did he mean what he said? The clock ticked loudly, each second heightening her anxiety. Images of their past tumbled through her mind, the good times, the laughter, but also the painful moments and the tear-filled nights. She closed her eyes, trying to separate the memories from the present, to see what lay between them now. Could they reignite that spark? With each thought, she felt the weight of potential futures, all branching from this one meeting. Her heart ached not just for the chance to reconnect but for the woman she once was. The laughter, the dreams, all of it, could it be recovered? In the early hours, sleep eluded her, her mind a spinning carousel of doubts and desires. Would she emerge stronger, or would she clutch her heart once more, standing amidst the wreckage? As dawn crept in, a new sense of determination began to blanket her fears. She had made the choice, she had taken back control. Tomorrow would unfold as it must. But as she slipped into a restless sleep, another question stirred beneath her comforting quilt. Would she be able to forgive him if he hadn't truly changed? Would she even be able to forgive herself for showing up? Tomorrow loomed just around the corner, and with it, the promise of something pivotal. Whatever came next, she knew it would force her to confront not just Jake, but the depths of her own resilience. And that, she realized through the haze of anticipation tinged with dread, would push her to the brink. It was time to face the music. The next day felt surreal as Emma arrived at the diner, its familiar neon sign flickering through the morning haze. She could hear the distant clattering of plates and the low murmur of conversation inside. The scent of coffee wafted through the air, rich and inviting, but it did little to settle her anxious stomach. Emma clutched her purse tightly, a small barrier against the anxiety that threatened to spill over. She scanned the room as she stepped inside, her heart racing, searching for Jake. In one corner, a couple laughed over breakfast, while near the window, an elderly man read his newspaper, oblivious to the flurry of her thoughts. Finally, she spotted him, sitting alone at a table, his back to the door. Jake was just as she remembered, his dark hair slightly tousled, a hint of a smile teasing his lips as he glanced around. But what struck her most was the way her heart jumped. It was visceral, thrilling, terrifying all at once. Taking a deep breath, she approached him, her footsteps a hesitant rhythm against the tiled floor. When Jake turned to face her, his expression shifted from surprise to something warm and welcoming, lighting up his eyes. "Emma," he breathed, standing up as if instinctively knowing he needed to bring her into a hug. It felt familiar and foreign at the same time, the comfort of his embrace clashing with the uncertainty churning inside her. "Hey," she replied softly, trying to keep it casual despite the cyclone of emotions swirling within. He gestured to the seat across from him, and she slid into it, feeling unsure. The chatter of the diner faded away, and everything else melted into an indistinct blur. They were in their own world, one filled with unspoken words and shared history. "How have you been?" he asked, stirring a sugar packet into his coffee. The question seemed innocent enough, but Emma felt the weight of it. For a split second, she hesitated. Did he want the truth? A flippant response? "I've been okay. Busy with work and life, you know." Jake nodded slowly, a hint of vulnerability in his gaze. "I've missed you." The sincerity in his voice squeezed her heart. It was a simple phrase, but it carried so much. Had he really meant it all those years? A million memories flickered in her mind, how they used to share everything, dream about the future, and then, just like that, it was gone. "Why did it take you so long to reach out?" Emma asked, her voice steady despite her nerves. She wanted to know, needed to understand. His gaze dropped to the table, the lightness of the moment shifting. "I've been working on myself. I needed to be better for you. For us." A small part of her wanted to believe him, to cling to the hope that glimmered within those words. But another part screamed caution. Could change be real? Before she could respond, their server approached, breaking the tension with a smile, and took their orders. Emma watched the waitress walk away, her mind racing. They had always been good at navigating the awkward silences, but this felt different. "So," Jake started, clearing his throat. "I was thinking maybe we could start over. You know, like just focus on us again." Her breath caught in her throat. Sounds simple enough, but could they? Was it really that easy to just wipe the slate clean? Emma found herself wrestling with her own thoughts. More than just the past stood between them. There was fear, doubt, and the unknown lurking like shadows behind every hopeful word. As she opened her mouth to speak, a cacophony of emotions whirled within her, and the words danced just out of reach. But before she could find the light needed to voice what lay at the forefront of her heart, the door swung open, and a rush of cold air rolled through the diner. In walked a figure Emma hadn't expected, someone from her past who might just complicate everything she longed for. Her breath hitched as she turned to see who it was, realizing their presence could change everything once again. What was supposed to be a moment of clarity now stood on the precipice of chaos. Would this somehow alter her decision? And could she bear the weight of that reality? Emma's heartbeat pounded in her ears, drowning out the soft clatter of plates and murmurs of the diner around her. She turned slowly to see a familiar figure stepping through the door, as if conjured from a dream, her estranged father, Tom. The air felt electric, charged with the weight of unresolved emotions. "Excuse me a moment," Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper, as she forced herself to stand. Jake followed her lead, confusion and concern etched on his face, but the gaze she shot him carried a mix of urgency and fear. "What's wrong?" he asked, but she didn't answer. She strode toward the entrance, navigating through tables as her breath quickened. "Dad?" she called out, her voice wavering ever so slightly. The man turned, his rugged features aging but familiar, a flicker of surprise crossing his eyes. 1,000 memories flooded back: family dinners, shopping trips, but also the reckless abandon that led him away from their lives altogether. "Emma?" he breathed out, his hands shoved deep into the pockets of his worn-out jacket. Regret seeped through his voice, weighing heavily as he took a tentative step toward her. "What are you doing here?" Emma bit back, full of tension and disbelief. She hadn't seen him in years, and yet here he was, like a specter looming in the shadows of her fragmented past. "I wanted to see you. I was hoping to make amends," to explain. His voice shattered like glass, fragile and painful. "Make amends?" The words slipped from her lips, coated in disbelief. "You just left. You abandoned us. What could you possibly say that would make any of this right?" "I'm sorry," he stammered, his expression crestfallen. "I've messed up, and I've paid for it every day. I wasn't ready to be a father then, but I am now. Please give me a chance to show you." A rush of conflicting emotions besieged her. Part of her wanted to scream, to unleash years of hurt, and yet another part felt a flicker of hope, the kind she had been nursing since opening her heart again. But was she ready for this conversation while navigating the complexity of her feelings for Jake? Behind her, Jake caught up, his hands balled into fists. "Emma, do you want me to go?" he asked quietly, concern etched in his features. She could feel his presence beside her, an anchor amidst the rising tide of uncertainty. "Just give me a moment," she replied, her voice stronger now as she turned back to Tom. "I will not forgive you today, but I will hear you out. Just know that it will take more than words to fix this." Tom nodded, his expression remorseful yet hopeful, and led her to a corner table, away from Jake and the bustle of the diner that seemed to recede into a blurry background. Sitting across from Tom, Emma felt the weight of the years pulling at them both. "So, what is it you want to say?" she demanded, ready to face whatever reckoning this was. He took a deep breath, his eyes glossy with unshed tears. "I was scared and young. I thought leaving would be better for you. I see now how wrong I was. You deserved better, and I can't change the past, but I want to be part of your life if you'll let me." Emma hesitated. That familiar ache in her heart twisted, filled with longing for the father she had once adored despite the pain he caused. "And what about the things you walked away from? You left us behind, Dad. I can't just forget that." "I understand," he murmured, his voice trembling. "I'll prove myself to you. It may take time, but I want to rebuild our relationship. If you give me the chance, I won't make the same mistakes again." As Emma stared into the depths of his gaze, something shifted inside her. She felt a small, flickering possibility. In that moment, she understood that this wasn't just about her father at all. It was about forgiveness, acceptance, and the tangled web of healing that needed to happen not only with him but within herself. "I want you to know something," she began, her voice steadier than before. "I've changed. I've fought hard to build a new life, to forge connections that mean something. And if I let you back in, you need to know I won't stand for the past repeating itself. Then I won't let you down," he promised, his sincerity reaching out across the table like a lifeline. "I want to be a better man for you." Behind her, Jake watched, an unreadable look on his face. She felt the weight of his presence, but in that moment, it didn't matter. It was about reclaiming her own narrative, about stepping toward the unknown with both apprehension and hope. Before she could second-guess herself, Emma turned to Jake. "Can you give us a moment?" The words flowed with resolve, and she knew this was part of her journey, not just toward reconciling with Tom but toward a deeper understanding of what family meant. He nodded, stepping back, and as she faced the man before her, time felt like it expanded into infinity. Emma understood then that transformation wasn't merely about one aspect of her life, it was woven into every choice she made, every relationship she tended. "Let us start from here," she whispered softly. "If we're going to do this, let us do it right." Tom nodded, a smile breaking through the weight of his past, and Emma felt the trail of years begin to lift just slightly. At that moment, life opened up before her like a blooming flower. The clouds of uncertainty hadn't cleared, but hope lingered, stronger than fear. She knew her path was no longer solitary. As the hours passed, the diner's atmosphere buzzed with warmth and connection, threading together the lives of those she cherished. After their conversation, she found Jake waiting, relief washed over her as their eyes met. "I'm proud of you," he said quietly, reaching for her hand. "You faced your past head-on." Emma smiled, a genuine light in her chest blooming. "I think I'm starting to understand what it means to rebuild." Together, hand in hand, they understood that their individual journeys would intertwine, each forged from struggles, vulnerability, and the power of transformation. That day ended not just with Emma facing her father but stepping forward into the arms of a brighter future. And just as a new dawn arrived, she dared to believe that she could create a tapestry rich with hope, resilience, and love. As she left the diner, Emma glanced back, seeing not just a place filled with memories, but a home in the making, one that encompassed the notion that every journey begins with a single step. And sometimes, it takes bold courage to open doors that had long been shut. Now, dear friends and fellow adventurers, it's your time to embrace transformation. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, your support matters. Comment your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming ending below. I want to hear how this story resonated with you. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this kind of powerful transformation in their lives. This is your moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second.